Welcome back to Paranormal Perspective. I'm John Lorden, and joining me as always is...
Christy Arnhart.
This is the show where Christy looks into a paranormal or paranormal adjacent topic. She does a bunch of research, presents it to me. I have no idea what the topic is before we record this. I try to apply my critical thinking skills to try to dismantle Christy's belief structure.
Just a little.
That's what it seems like. And we let the audience, there's a live audience in the live stream watching us. They vote and tell us who they think is correct for that episode. Christy, what are we talking about today?
Well, today we're going to be talking about something that's been popping up on social media a lot lately. And it's not something I've ever really thought about until it happened to me.
Ooh.
So today we are going to be talking about mimics.
And this has happened to you?
This has happened to me. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'm
so,
looking forward to it.
From what I understand, a mimic is a creature or a ghost that's mimicking the voice of a loved one to either try to draw you out or to cause problems and irritate you, like a poltergeist will do. It's a broad term. It doesn't really apply to any specific being because there are so many out there that can imitate voices and shapeshift. I mean, wendigos, doppelgangers, demons, there's all kinds of things. Those are just the easy ones off the top of my head. There's so many more. It's kind of unsettling. Now, doppelgangers, I'm not going to talk about today because I want to do an actual show on them. Doppelganger means an apparition or double of a living person. And there are some great stories and encounters with them. So
there's also a great Twilight Zone. A great Twilight Zone about that. I love that episode where a guy sees like himself, but he's getting on the bus. And there's this super creepy aspect to it where the double that he's seeing of himself like sees that he's being recognized, but just won't talk to the guy and just like continues on his way and keeps like getting away from him. Like it adds this really creepy, mysterious element because you're like, what is the double thinking? And like, what's, the guy, it's obvious he's trying to catch up to the double, but the double is just fleeing. And I think it's good to break that up because doppelganger is definitely its own kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait to cover that. That'll be soon because there's so much to go with that.
Yeah.
Now, one thing that I've noticed that people say when they encounter a mimic is that they're in a situation where it feels like it's uncanny valley. You know that was the voice of your loved one, but you also know they're not there. So it really messes with your mind. So now I have to share from my personal life. Okay. And I don't usually, this usually bites me in the butt when I do this kind of thing. So I feel, I'm nervous actually. That's why
wait. When you say it bites you in the butt, is it because you're worried that I'm going to like record the segment and make a blooper reel out of it? Or
yeah.
Oh,
yeah. Absolutely.
Well, now you've got me excited. Now.
Oh.
Uh-oh, she's having to take a drink.
I do. I have to have a drink of wine before I jump into this. Okay. Now, I knew when I started doing this show that it would start to churn up some kind of paranormal activity around me. Anytime you start dealing with things like this, you either start to notice more than you did before, or things come out of the woodwork for you. I hadn't dealt with anything supernatural in about 14 years because this is something that I grew up with. And a lot of people in the South do, because there are a lot of different beliefs that come from Appalachia that, a lot of our ancestors came from and they carried them with them. So, we had sayings about hearing your name called and things like that. I can remember in childhood, every summer, I was paid to go clean my grandparents' house while they were at work. Now, I admit I spent most of the time just going through their stuff. That's what kids do, right? Before I would go into their house every time, I would ring the doorbell 3 times and say hello before I went in because I was hoping I would scare the ghosts away. Now, I don't remember any specific event that caused that. It's just something I remembered when I started writing all this up. I heard my name called a lot when I was a kid, and it was always a loved one that was saying it. My mother, my dad, my great aunt lived next door to us. She wasn't in the greatest of health, and she was old school old, so it was just, you had to keep an eye on her. And she had hurt herself several times. So anytime I would hear my voice called, it sounded like Aunt Faye. And I was like, well, what's going on? So I would call my mother. Is she okay? Is she up there? No. I'd go outside. I'd look around. I'd go to her house. No, she's at her house. She hasn't left all day. So I tried to just ignore those things. And after my granddad passed away in 2012, I kind of put it behind me because I had lost a lot of family members at that point, and I really did not want anything dredged up. I didn't want anything to attach itself to me. I didn't want any old family hanging around, nothing. I was just done for a while. So when John and I started doing this show, I knew that it would start kicking stuff up again. And it has. And I've talked about it a little bit on the show. At one point, stuff would just disappear, and it does it to me. And now it did it to me enough that I started to worry that my memory was faulty and something was wrong, because I'd have something in my hand. I'd set it down and knew where I set it down. And then it would be in the weirdest place when I did find it. My husband and I, which by the way, he's a huge skeptic, he laughs at me more often than not. I try to show him videos and he just like, Christy.
So you're used to how you get treated here on the show.
Oh, yeah. Good. I'm totally used to this. Well, we had been cooking dinner. We had went grocery shopping earlier that day, cooking dinner, and I needed dishwashing detergent for the dishes I was using, and we couldn't find it. We just bought a new bottle. We looked all over the house, the two of us. From the time that we turned off the last pan, we started looking. We come back to the kitchen and we're like, well, I just don't know what's happened to it. And then there's the dishwashing detergent sitting in the middle of the stove. I've been cooking there for almost an hour. If it was there, the two of us would have seen it. You don't keep something like that on your stove. I would have moved it. Well, even my husband didn't have an explanation for that one, so we just kind of let it go and went on about our business. Well, that stuff still happens, by the way. It's just not as prevalent. It doesn't happen, but maybe once a week or something like that. So we had that. Now, a few weeks ago, we were getting ready for bed. And for us, getting ready for bed takes a while because we have to get all of the animals ready for bed too. The ones that sleep with us, the ones that don't, all that. So we're standing in the bedroom in front of my nightstand. And I hear our Doberman Shepherd, Lola Mae, jabbering in the living room, having a little fit. Because she doesn't just bark or anything like that. She's got to jabber all the time, too. I swear she'll talk one day. And I looked at him and I said, what is she whining about? And he said, I don't know, because Lola's at your feet asleep. And she was. All three of the dogs were in there. And we clearly heard her in the living room calling for us. That freaked us both out. Because he, again, has no explanation for that one. And he heard that too. So there's no denying it. Well, last week, he came home for lunch like he does every day, gets ready to leave. I'm in the bedroom. He says, I'm going to go back to work. I'm like, okay. I look at the animals and I say, well, Mama's got to be an adult again, whether she wants to or not. And I hear him laugh in the living room. So I walk out to give him a hard time and I see him driving down the street. He wasn't even in the house when I heard that. And it's not like it's faint or did I? No, it's very, very clear. So I've never felt like any of this is malicious, but at the same time, I don't really know what's going on. Obviously, something has attached itself. And it honestly looks like what I'm seeing on social media. I tended to disregard these videos because it's so easy to fake them. It's just like, oh, go hide behind that corner and call for me. It's super easy.
Yeah. Well, or especially nowadays, like use a cell phone, record yourself saying something and time it, and then just go start playing it, and then, start your recorder over here. Like, yeah.
Yeah. There's so many ways. But after it started happening to me, I started looking it up and realizing I have been seeing a lot of these videos lately. And this is exactly what these things do. They imitate a loved one. Usually it's a husband, a wife, a kid. They're in the bedroom, they're in the bathroom, whatever they're doing. They start being called from another room. And you know that other person's not there. So the first thing you don't want to do is go in there, you know? But feel free to, there's a couple of videos that we've got.
Yeah.
That back this up.
We also have other pictures, but this is more like a doppelganger situation.
Yeah, I know. These are just scary.
Yeah.
This one, I mean, they try to tie all of these back to doppelgangers, and it's not always a doppelganger.
This one, I mean, obviously this isn't a photograph, so like you could have a painting of a guy looking at himself, but outside of that, this looks like it's been touched. Like this coloring is different for some reason.
Well, this one is actually, I believe it's called This Is How They Met Themselves.
Okay.
And that is the purpose of the painting, is that 2 of them are real and 2 of them aren't.
Yeah. All right. So let me just say, looking at this girl already, this girl is nonsense. And I might be saying that because I might have watched it already, but all right. Let's go through this. First of all,
okay, I'm ready.
This channel's name is Tiff's Ghost Talk. So her theme, her channel, literally this type of content. Okay, so what's happening here? We got a title. I just heard my voice in my house coming from the other room. It did it again, and I got on camera.
I am cleaning. Ignore this, my Band-Aid wouldn't stay on, so I taped it. But in the middle of cleaning, I hear like a door shut, and I'm whispering because I'm kind of weirded out. Louis in the living room by himself, but I hear this door slam, and then I swear I thought I heard like me say like hello or hey or something. So I'm trying to wait and see if it does it again, because I'm a nervous laugher, so.
Here's what I don't like about this one. That situation I described about recording yourself, having a certain time before you say something and then leaving it play somewhere else. Like this is where it's coming from, is my analysis of what's happened in this video.
Okay.
I don't like the excuses that she's making about what's happening. Like, why is she talking quiet at the start? Because she's trying to make sure that her microphone's going to pick up when that other voice is going to kick in from the other room. And then she's also talking about that she laughs when she's nervous. Like what, why is she's very super aware of whatever's happening on the viewer's perspective for someone that would truly be freaked out about like, oh my God, I'm hearing a voice from the other room. And I'll take this one further, Christy. I've had experiences where I have heard voices of deceased family members.
Oh, lots of people.
So I'm a believer.
Yeah.
But I don't believe her. I'm a believer in the stories you're telling me, and I can also confirm that you've been sending me numerous messages lately about things that are happening in your house. We've literally sent you some ghost hunting type equipment. Is any of that turning up anything for you?
Well, and that's something that I put in the script too. Anytime you pay more attention to things like this, it just kicks up and it gets worse and worse and worse. And I don't want things happening in my house. So aside from maybe burning some sage and having the rocks and crystals around me that I like.
Yeah.
Because nothing has felt malicious. It's just so unusual. I'm flabbergasted. I can't believe it happened.
Yeah, at this point, we're talking about potentially things being moved around and maybe something trying to get your attention, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of hers, and I'm telling you, I've had experiences like, especially in times where I've needed help, it seems like times where I was unemployed for a period of time and I'm like, oh, I really hope this job comes through or something. Like I've had a few big taps on the shoulder from my grandmother in particular for some reason. And a few of them seem to happen in, I don't want to say like twilight sleep. It's actually in the act of awakening, but almost like there's been 3 or 4 times in my life where I'm literally being awoken by someone's voice. And I'm like, I know that voice. I know that's my grandmother. My grandmother's been deceased for 20 years at this point. And it pulls me out of sleep. Like it wakes me all the way up. Like someone just spoke in the room.
Yes.
So yeah, believe it or not, I am a believer of this stuff. But we've got this other one here. What is, so we've got someone, their voice being mimicked down a hallway. Let me see here.
Yes.
Come here. Come here. Come here.
I hated that they put the music on it.
Yeah. Now, the music and the thing I don't like about the production of that one is you don't see the person. So at least in this one, when the voice happens, you see her face. So you know that she's not saying it. In this one, it could just be the same person that's holding the camera that is having a conversation with themselves. Like in terms of faking it, this one would be even less of an effort than this one. Because in this one, she's set up some object in another room that's on a timer of some kind. But outside of all that, like, I'm still a believer in this because I've experienced something like this.
Well, and I would say too, the girl with her own ghost channel. I mean, if she does this all the time, she probably does have things happening in her house. And I don't, you know me. I mean, there are some of them I look at and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so stupid.
Yeah.
But I totally believe they're hearing somebody from another room. I do. I've unfortunately, and I went through that a lot as a kid, more so as a kid than I think an adult.
Well, and I think that's part of the question. Like when I'm having those experiences, it's happened once or twice since I've been married to Vera, and she was in bed also, but it did not wake her up. So I'm not sure that me having a recorder in the room is even going to actually pick it up. I don't think it's that type of thing. Like for me in particular, it feels like a spiritual connection that I have to a family member that's no longer with me. And there's something about that connection that's still resonating with me and that's sending me these big giant pulses. Like I said, usually in situations where I kind of need it in some way, like need a message, need some kind of extra nudge or affirmation. But they sound to me legit, like, you know, clear as a bell, pulling me out of sleep.
Yeah.
So, but like I said, I don't know that a recorder would get it.
The ones that I experienced, which I've had some, you know, waking up or going to sleep, but they've usually been like in the middle of the day or in the afternoon, and I hear it clean as day.
Yeah.
But you know what it's like when you get married too, after a while. I can't hear half of anything John says. He's at the other end of the house talking to me. I can't hear him.
Yeah.
So chances are I've heard other things and just went, I can't hear nothing he's saying.
Yeah. Well, and that's also maybe speaking to that fact about, like, it might not be, I mean, we're interpreting it as an audible sound, but it might not be something that's actually vibrating the air. You know, it might actually be some type of connection within us. That's why you're able to hear it in that way, where you can't hear your husband.
Very true.
Poor John.
John. Seriously. But yeah, no, this is something that's been happening lately. And once I started researching and I started seeing everything, I was like, well, you know, whether they're faked or not, there are other people out there like me. Yeah. There are some authentic ones. So
yeah. I, like I said, I think there's something to this. I'm voting yes. It won't let me vote on the poll, but I would hit yes on that. And I don't have to, because 68% of the audience that's watching us live says yes, mimics are indeed real.
Good deal.
So I think we have a lot of other people that have probably experienced that as well. And with that, there's no blooper reel that's going to be happening here, Christy, because you won.
Oh my gosh. Look at this.
Paranormal confirmed. All right.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I would love to set up a recorder in the house for a while.
Yeah.
But I've done those things before when I was younger, and all it does is draw more and more to you. And you can't always control what's coming at you and what's talking to you. So, you really just don't want to mess with it. That's why I quit. But I will be testing the equipment at my grandparents' house.
Excellent.
Because that house, my granddad built that house. It's very old. We've had generations come through, live and die. So I'll be setting it up down there too.
Well, and your big trip is coming up next weekend, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's why I'm doing it this week. So I can make sure all the equipment's working just right.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've got everything set in here too. So
all right.
Anytime y'all want to see it, I can show you.
Well, I think what we'll do is we'll actually give them a rundown when we're recording that episode so that you can explain to them how everything works, and then we can review any evidence that you might find. So
nice.
All right. Well, thank you for your help on today's episode, Christy. We really appreciate you. And thank you guys for watching. We will catch you on the other side.